record, and is everyone okay with being recorded? Recording has started. Okay, I'm going to take that as yes. So welcome to our presentation on Google Classroom at San Diego Center. I'm really happy to share this with you because I'm, as I mentioned earlier, very excited about what we're doing in San Diego and the plans that we have moving forward. So I'm happy to share, and I hope that the enthusiasm spreads. It looks like Catherine's already got a bit of the bug, so hopefully you'll become even more excited. As we'll discuss moving forward, I'd say that perhaps the greatest benefit of using Google Classroom is its transparency and accessibility of information to everyone involved, to students, teachers, and administrators. So today we're going to go over kind of what has inspired its use here, how we're using it now, how we plan to use it moving forward, and then we'll take a look at a few classrooms currently running and just answer some questions, dialogue, potential rollouts at your center, anything you guys want to talk about. But before we do, I thought it would be nice, just because it gets really lonely in these things when I'm just talking and everyone's on mute, if you don't mind just all unmuting yourselves for a moment. I want to ask a couple of questions I really appreciate, by the way, and thank you so much for filling out the pre-meeting questionnaire, because it kind of helped me to get a feel of where you all are at. So if you don't mind, I just have a couple of questions to move on with getting to know where everyone is at. So if you don't mind unmuting, and we can just take like 2 minutes to discuss these questions, sneak it, which basically is really about what sorts of transparency currently exist in your classroom model. So without using any online learning management systems, how do you know what's going on in your classrooms? What teachers are assigning for homework, and how the assessment of the students and the teachers is being tracked and developed. And then there's a few sub-questions if we could just kind of discuss how homework is assigned, what goes on in the classroom in terms of student production time, technology mastery of students and teachers, and assessment. So I'm just going to open it up.
I might just jump straight for one that I do know about, which is the ongoing assessment of students and recording of that assessment. So our teachers use a record of assessment spreadsheet and input both MEE assessment scores and skills assessments, which we do weekly, and also our weekly unit reviews. So it's all very administration based.
Okay.
In terms of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot, and in terms of informal assessment and kind of the work that students are turning in for writing and that sort of thing is maybe
not so visible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
in Melbourne we do the same. And as far as homework and whatnot goes, we wouldn't have a clue what is done. But the assessment, it's very heavy administration.
Okay.
Same assessment as Sydney, obviously.
I think the same applies in Auckland.
All right, cool. All right, and then in terms of your assessment and kind of visibility, so it sounds like not too high. And then is your assessment of teachers primarily through observations then, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Through observations and student satisfaction questionnaires.
Okay, cool. That's around the board?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Oh, you're going to love Google Classrooms. Okay. Good. And you're all there, and I don't feel so lonely. So please chime in anytime. Feel free to interrupt me. But we'll just kind of move on to what has inspired Google Classrooms here in San Diego, which was recognizing gaps between student need and center delivery. So I started taking this TESOL online course development course, which was phenomenal. If anyone has the opportunity, I highly recommend it in terms of resources and just kind of playing around with LMS. And so I designed my own course, and initially I was only interested in online course classes because I thought it would be really nice to travel, work from home, and wear my pajamas. But I've actually, since I say drank the Kool-Aid on online learning and realized that it's a really excellent platform to kind of meet my educational goals and expectations, and to spread information, knowledge, and experience. It's a really beautiful platform. So while I was in that class, I was using Google Classroom as my LMS. And we'll talk about other learning management systems, and I know a few of you have some experience, some okay, some not so okay with those. And we'll talk about why I think that Google Classroom is the best option for us out there. And basically, in taking this course, we kind of realized that knowledge without action is useless. So if I now know how to create a classroom online and know that the implications for learning can be, improved upon both for the students and also for the teachers and for management in terms of like continuing professional development, then why not do it? So also in terms of existing professional development and assessment for the teachers, I kind of noticed like a lack of deep thinking or visible application of any teaching or learning philosophies with the teachers, and also a great lack of transparency in lesson planning and implementation. So it was really hard to see, and it seems like for you all as well, to know what's going on in the classroom and how am I to develop my teachers if I have no idea what's happening in the classroom. So there was really no evidence of continuing assessment. So we still did the me tests and the weekly unit reviews and those sorts of things. But in terms of writing assessment, it was really hard to find out what it was. And on the few occasions where I did get solid feedback on like the writing feedback that teachers were providing, it wasn't meeting my expectations. So I was trying to think of a way that we could implement a system here so that I could see what feedback the teachers were providing to the students so that I might provide feedback to them and inform it. And so there were also like minimal writing assignments. So I'm a writer. So my graduate studies were like, in my action research was on writing. So it was just horrifying to me that we weren't assigning writing, or that we were assigning it, not providing feedback, or providing less than adequate feedback. And then also we had student academic focus groups. So in the academic focus groups, we sit down, we talk to the students and get to know what they're about. And in those groups, it's really meaningful, and I'm sure that most of you or all of you, also perform these. You really get kind of the pulse of the student body and what's going on. And so knowing our student body and knowing that they come from more privileged backgrounds and are accustomed to like an integration of technology in their educations already, I think it's really important to see how we can kind of meet that need. And I know that some of you mentioned in the questionnaire that you had used Blackboard as a student and it was a positive experience. And most of our students, it was a hunch, and then confirmed by talking to students in their university experiences, have some sort of experience with a learning management system online, and actually a few of them confirmed that they would actually really enjoy that here. And then also, we stopped giving them books to take home and to write in, and actually I think that books are kind of completely unnecessary in using this learning management system. So it helped to, create a more positive student experience and give them access to study at home. All right, so the answer to all of these problems was, of course, Google Classroom.
Could I jump in quickly,
Please
Courtney?
do. I would love it.
I'd really love to know the course that you did. Who was it run by? Was it an online course? Or?
It was an online course through TESOL.
Oh, yeah, you said in your pajamas. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, I know I'm talking really quickly because I'm trying to like honor our time and get through a bunch of stuff, so we can like listen to the recording on slow speed and you can understand what I'm saying. But yeah, it was TESOL and it was a phenomenal course. I actually
TESOL.com. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great, thank you.
And I can share it with you too. The teacher was outstanding. The class was amazing, and it was a long certification. It was actually 3 courses, and each one was, I think, 2 months long. So it was a 6-month program, and I designed my own class. I designed 2 classes, one for professional development and then an educational class that I kind of did on the side for myself. And it was amazing, so many resources, and I've been sharing the resources with the teachers, and it's been phenomenal. So I'll definitely share that in the link as well, because
that would be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So why Google Classroom? It's easy and user-friendly. There is a resistance at our school to technology with our teachers, so it really needs to be something that's accessible, and Google Classroom is. When we were talking earlier on the call, I think it was Rebecca had mentioned, or perhaps it was Catherine, that, is this intuitive? And I would say absolutely it is, and it was easier for our teachers to adopt because we'd already been using Google Drive. So Google Classroom is free. We're already using it for admin efficiency measures. And someone wrote in the Google Classroom pre-meeting response, like they want to know if this would help and not increase workload. And I would say absolutely it does. And that's a huge focus of mine as an administrator, is I want to spend as little time as possible talking about or focusing on admin duties with teachers. I want my conversations, because they're quite limited with teachers, I want my conversations to be about education and how we're kind of developing our educational philosophies and how we're applying them in the classroom. So I don't want to be talking about, did you fill out the spreadsheet and enter your grades? I want it to be so easy and streamlined that they can do it in a snap and then really start to develop strong educational platforms. So Google Classroom is the answer to everything. So let's talk about application. So we know, of course, as educators, that technology has to support learning and teaching goals. You can't just use it because it's got all these great bells and whistles, and why not? So my teaching and learning philosophy is all about empowering students, continual learning, and providing tools and space for learning to happen. Just let it happen and support growth as needed. So how do you support their growth as needed? You need to identify need through assessment. How can I assess my teachers, and how can I see that my teachers are adequately assessing their students if I can't see what's going on in the classroom? So transparency is vital. And to an extent, we had that when we moved everything to the Google Drive. But now with the Google Classroom, it's very easy to see, as you'll see when we start to peruse it, everything that's going on in the classroom. And so to create a dialogue that's a breeze and connect with the teachers and provide them with the support and allow for models for them to then provide support to students. So it's a great way for baseline assessment of students and teachers to identify their needs. And observations, I think, just don't cut it in terms of providing teacher feedback, because there's a tendency, and I'm going to assume that you'll agree, but feel free to interrupt if you don't, that in terms of observations, that you're not necessarily seeing what happens every day in the classroom. It's to an extent a performance for the observer. So this also gives a link on consistency in what's happening in the classroom and what students are producing. And so we really just focus on an action research cycle here, which is just applying new things, trying them out, reflecting on them, making changes, and trying them again. Okay. So in terms of professional development, I'd say that that's one of the greatest things that this platform can be used for, because as we are all administrators, it's really tough to know what's going on inside of the classroom, and how can you help to develop your teachers, and how can you ensure that quality lessons are being taught in your center if you can't see what's going on. So by far, I'd say that the professional development aspect is really key, and of course transparency is vital for that. In terms of administrative efficiency, it definitely helps not increase the workload. So it decreases workload because it creates an efficiency. And actually, when a conversation that I'm always having with my teachers, as I mentioned, is just how can we decrease admin duties to the minimum, make them as efficient as possible, so that all we're focusing on is learning ourselves and developing our practice, so that we can then inspire the learning in the classroom. Because the more streamlined things are, we know the more we can focus on why we're here. So we started Gmail accounts for everyone. We created Google Classroom how-to and summer rollouts, which I'll share with you guys. Then the pet, actually, so like in terms of administrative efficiency, when we rolled it out, we shared this document, which is in the Google Drive, just kind of like summer rollouts. And this was all based on what all of the things that I mentioned and kind of expectations of teachers. So that included everyone getting their own Gmail account and students getting their own Gmail account, and just kind of standards for expectations in terms of using the class and assessing students. And because we're following this action research cycle, it doesn't have to be perfect the first run through. It was just like, these are the basic standards. This is really easy for any teacher to reference and to think about, so that we can then start just this process of introducing everyone to it and encouraging development as we go along. And so I really believe that it affects the pedagogical approach as well, because it helps teachers to develop theirs. They have more thoughtful teaching practices because they're actually able to look back at each term and how their lessons progress, and they can also become really creative. So there's some amazing things that have happened as a result of things being on the Google Classroom, and teachers that had in the past really, I'd say, slacked on administrative duties have shown using Google Classroom, like they're shining like bright stars, because there's more evidence of the magic that's happening in the classroom, and because it's so easy to use, they have no problems in developing their resources on the system so that I can see it, and so that the students can see it and reflect upon it. So one of the requirements is that all of the classes create slides in Google Slides, and they upload those. I'll show you a few in a bit, so that their students have resources to then go back and look at later. And then the other great thing that inspires a lot of collaboration is that the teachers are all invited to be teachers in all of the classes. So they can look at each other's Google Classrooms and see what one another are doing, borrow ideas, share ideas, and collaborate much easier than before. So it's really beautiful. And it has inspired some great collaborations and dialogue amongst the teachers, which is key to their development, I'd say. And it really builds upon a community of practice. So because of the reasons that I mentioned, and also eases administrative duties, I'd say, because, for example, one teacher will teach, the teacher who taught the upper intermediate class last term just really went above and beyond expectations in terms of developing slides and materials for the class. So now there's a different teacher leading that class. They have his slides to use either as a resource, or they can just use his slides and delve more deeply into the teaching practice. So it's really useful in sharing and then creating space to get more creative on other things, because the foundation has kind of been built. And it's not something that's coming down from the top, but it's something that's being co-created by all of the teachers, which inspires our teachers a lot. All right, so let's take a look. Well, I'll just say, does anyone have any question? Because I need to take a break. I've been talking a lot. We feeling good? Okay. Is there anybody out there? So for right now, just briefly, we'll kind of go over what we're using it for. So the first thing that we're sharing the Google Classrooms with is a professional development class that I started in one of my own trainings. And what I did to start that, oh no, I'm ruining it. Just going to share with you kind of some of the things that we are using the classroom for. So one of them is a professional development class that I created in one of my online courses. And it started out, I just shared this with all of the teachers and their students, so it allows them the opportunity to view the student perspective, to be a student in the platform, to get an idea of what the students see that will then inform their practice and application of it. So I started by uploading professional developments that we had in the classroom so that they have these resources, which were made available to them in the Google Drive before, but this made it a little bit more accessible, so then they could go back and see all of the professional developments that we went through and think of ways and resources to apply those into their classes. So that's that. And so right now, all of our classes are currently running in Google Classroom since the summer rollout. So all of our core intensive classes. We also have a class for our writing club, our conversation club, and we have an activities classroom, which was designed for all of the school activities. So we'll take our students on a monthly zoo trip, for example. We've now created academic support that is accessible to all of the students to have a lesson to prepare them for the trip, and then something that they can turn in to get attendance credit for attending the trips as well, which is really fun to create. So we'll just kind of go around here and peruse through. I lose my tabs when I do a full screen, so my apologies for making you all dizzy moving things around, but I can't see my tabs that way. All right, so one thing that I'll show you is in terms of, let's go to this class. So one thing that was really great in terms of like continuing professional development is that at our center, as I'm sure at your center as well, you've got teachers that are functioning on different levels of teaching experience, education, ability, and familiarity with technology. So we are able to better, I would say, individualize professional development for teachers using things like this. So this is the classroom from our TOEFL teacher, William, and he is been using, I actually talked him into using Google Classroom when I was taking the TESOL course online. And he was one of our mavericks, I call it, whenever we try to roll something out here, try to inspire a maverick to take it on in their class first. And it's really key in terms of like rollout throughout the school. If you have a teacher, or at least I've found here that if you have one teacher that's on board, so that it's not something that's just coming down from management and saying, hey guys, now we're doing this, you can say, hey guys, William tried this out in his class and it's been working phenomenally. And so he's really developed his class beyond what the others have because he's familiar with the technology, because he's had a few cycles to practice it, and he's really comfortable with his teaching practice and assessment. So I can go into his classroom, and this is what, I'm a teacher in the classroom, so kind of like in Facebook, there's a stream here. You can see here any due dates, things that are coming up, so that the students can easily see what's expected of them, as can the teacher. You can see here, if you click on this people icon, you can see all of the teachers, and again, we've invited all of the teachers at school to be teachers in each other's classes so that they can have full access to materials and co-create with one another, and then you see all of the students. And what's really cool in terms of assessment is you can just click on a student here, and you can see all of the assignments that were assigned on Google Classroom and whether the student has turned it in and what their grades are. So there's no more spreadsheets because it's all right here. So the writing test was assigned. It looks like she didn't turn it in. Oh, so sorry. Is that my music? Okay. I don't know if you guys heard, but there was just music playing here. I don't know what it was. Sorry. It wasn't in my head. It was in my ear. It was definitely coming from a device. So apologies if you couldn't hear it, but that was the dramatic pause. Just to make sure everyone's awake. So you're going to throw some wackiness into the presentation to keep things real. But so this is a really great way not only to monitor student progress for the teacher, but also when you're using it for professional development to monitor teacher progress and our teachers turning in assignments that you might be creating for them to develop them further. Also, it gives you a good idea of, what assignments students are responding to. And I'll kind of show you a better way to take a look at that actually too. So the third tab here is the tab that the teacher is going to use most often, and that's the classwork tab. So here, in terms of setting up on the front end, we created what they call in Google Classrooms topics, and we've just created a topic for each unit. So we created one topic that's just the class resources, and we've put things like academic integrity quiz, course syllabus, rubrics. We kind of set those three as a standard for each class to have, and then we're adding a few other things. And then we just go by week. So week 1, the topic is people. Week 2, the topic is customs and traditions. And then the teacher can create assignments and post their slides in each of these. So how do you create an assignment? You click that beautiful create button, and then you have the choice of assignment, question, material. So say you click an assignment here. You can choose, and this is really cool, you can choose who you're going to send the assignment to. So you can do individualized homework where you say, you know what, it's just, this is something that Anna needs to work on, so I'm only going to assign it to her. And you can just assign it to Anna. This is really useful in terms of professional development for the teachers, as well as you'll see what we're moving toward is assigning individual teachers different things to kind of develop themselves. So then you just name it whatever you want to. You give instructions. You can assign points. As of now, we're not really working too much on the point system. You assign a due date, and assigning a due date is important if you want it to show up on that previous screen that I showed before. And then very important is choosing a topic. By choosing a topic, that will make it automatically categorized in the correct topic so that students can find the information easily. And I'd say that that's something that some of the less organized teachers had an issue with at first. So it was one of the training components that I would emphasize is just make sure you put everything in a topic so that it's user-friendly on the student end, so the students aren't just trying to sort through all of this information that's being thrown at them. Then once you choose all of those things, you can upload things from your Google Drive, or you can add videos from YouTube, or you can add links from the web, or even attachments from your computer. Although, probably not a lot of that happening because everything's about Google. And then you just click Assign. What's really cool and something that I think is worthwhile to share with you is, let's just make this assignment. You see here it says students can view files. So this is if the assignment is just something that I want the students to see. There's not necessarily an action taken, or maybe the action taken is just read this so that we can talk about it in class tomorrow. But you can also choose students can edit files. So say you're doing a group project and you want to create one document that multiple people or all of the students can edit, then you click Can Edit File. Or if you're assigning a writing assignment for everyone in your class, which is a requirement now for us at our school, you can make a copy for each student, and then they each have a template for that writing assignment. So we just have like a really base template that says, student name, class, writing assignment, title. So say you do make a copy for each student, which you likely will for most assignments. You click that Assign button. And then what's really cool is on the teacher end, you can see here how many have been turned in, assigned, and graded. So when this teacher initially assigned it, it said that 20 people were assigned. 7 people did the work, and then he graded their work. So I know here just really quickly and right off the bat that this teacher is doing his job and he's reading students' work and providing them feedback. Because there's 0 turned in, that means everyone who turned this assignment in has been graded. And then I can look at who's been graded, and I can click on an assignment, and I can wait for it to load, which it's not. Let's try another one. Dun, dun, dun. Not sure why they're not loading. Apologies. I really want to show you. But I don't want to waste your time. So usually you can see if it loads. We'll try one more. You can see comments that the teacher made. And the teacher can make comments by, just like with a Google Doc, they just add a comment. So then I can see what kind of assessment and what kind of feedback the teachers are providing to the students. And then they can also add a private comment, which they often do. So sorry I didn't have one of those open up. There's probably one of them, but anyways, you get the idea. It's really great because then you can see the feedback that the teachers are providing, and then you can then provide feedback on their feedback. For example, are they just editing student work? Are they offering suggestions? Are they asking questions to inspire critical thinking in the writing specifically? So that's really useful. And then in addition, they can add their slides, which is useful because you as an administrator can see the slides that the students are seeing and what's going on in the classroom. And then you can also, then the students can also see that. So a student can easily review what they studied in the class because they can just pop on Google Classrooms. And also, if a student is absent, they can see what they missed so that they're not behind in the class. So I just want to show you, one more thing, which is quite nice, is that this teacher, as I said, he's above and beyond. So he does weekly quizzes that he's created using Google Forms, and those are also uploaded. So when the students are taking their weekly quizzes, and we're actually working on turning all of the Touchstone Viewpoint weekly quizzes into Google Forms, so all of the classes can do this. Students can just click on this button on Monday when it's time to take the test, answer a few questions, and go straight to the quiz. And I don't have one open. I'm not going to search for it, but if you're not familiar with Google Forms, it's phenomenal in that. Actually, I do. I have this one open. So just like the Google Forms that you all filled out, the teacher can then quickly go through each of the questions and see how many people got what wrong, so that they can recognize patterns to inform their teaching. So they know that if everyone got the question wrong, that there's a likelihood that the teacher did not cover the material appropriately in class and that they need to go back and study that. And they can also see individually what students are missing or not missing, so that they can then go back and perhaps assign individualized homework, which is really useful, and it's a lot easier than going through the paper graded sheets to recognize those patterns.
Courtney, could I just check? Sorry if you've
Please do, yeah.
answered this or said it already. These weekly quizzes, are they similar to the ones that come from your course book? Have you? We do unit reviews at the end of each chapter. I'm just wondering if you've somehow managed to get those unit reviews on here, or if it's something else.
We are working toward that. So this teacher is, superstar extra credit teacher. He created these quizzes because he created his curriculum for the TOEFL class. He's like our superstar teacher. And so he designed this curriculum using the TOEFL books, but this is his class. He owns this class. The other classes so we're running elementary through upper intermediate, they all use the Touchstone Viewpoint. Is that what you guys use as well?
It would be equivalent of face-to-face.
Right, yeah, we're using
so and we have also in Touchstone Viewpoint, we have the weekly quizzes, and they're currently paperly, given via paper. But this teacher is working on translating them into Google Forms. So we're actually doing a trial with one class on week 4 where they complete their quiz on Google Forms rather than the paper. And so we're hoping that by week 6 to expand that trial to all of the classes using Google Forms for their weekly quizzes, and then hoping beyond that all of our weekly quizzes are in Google Forms.
Yeah, that would be so helpful.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. It's a great question because it's really exciting, and again goes to the streamlining administrative duties.
Exactly, and not copying that result onto another spreadsheet. And
exactly.
It's very visible.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you. I love your questions. I don't feel so lonely, so thank you. It's great.
Thanks.
So then I think the other thing so this is kind of what a class looks like, and there's a few of them, but I think that's pretty much the biggest thing here. So for the sake of time, I won't go into that any bit more, but I will go to the class for the teacher. So in addition to that professional development class, I started this one, which, I just started it this week. So I don't think all of the teachers have even signed up, but my plan is that every term I'm going to create a new classroom for the teachers. And rather than the email back and forth, let's do this, let's do that, it's going to be assignments created. So we have here, and I think you guys might do this too, but we have a once a term all school activities where the whole entire school goes somewhere and does something amazing and fun. And we're working off of the books during that week. So we give the teachers a topic. And for example, last term we went to the Tijuana estuary and the topic was water. So the teachers were responsible for developing the curriculum for the week on the topic of water. And I set up guidelines, like this has been a project that this is the third all-school activity that we've done. So it's evolved in terms of the teachers developing the lesson plans, which is a really amazing opportunity for them to be creative, for them to kind of have ownership of their class, and to get practice in designing and developing curriculum, and to receive feedback from me on that. So what it's been before is like I'll create a Google Doc and say these are the guidelines, here are some resources, here are some templates for lesson plans, and then create your lesson, turn it into me by this date, I'll add notes, you'll make adjustments, and then you'll create the lesson plan, then we'll teach the lesson, then we'll reflect and get feedback on it. So now, rather than emailing and trying to track down who's returned the email and who's done this and who's done that and where we are in that line, I can just create an assignment. And for something like that, it can be an assignment for all the teachers. So I've already created my all-school activity topic. It can be an assignment that I create for all teachers with all of the necessary guidelines and forms, and then they can just turn it in when they're done. I can provide feedback, and they can resubmit it, and we can just go through that cycle here. What's really great is that we can all look at our calendar. So in addition to here on the stream, it tells you what work is due soon. So it could be, your all-school activity lesson plan is due next Friday. We can also take a look at this shared calendar. So when you click on the Google Calendar image, I've color-coded each of the classes that we have, and all of the teachers have access to these classes, and so they can organize however they want. I've made a beautiful rainbow with mine, and it's really easy for me to see, or will be once I create assignments for them, who's turned it in, for them to see what's expected of them now and moving forward, and then for me to see who's done what, and if I need to follow up. And it's also a really good snippet of what's going on in the classes. So as you see, so this TOEFL class, the Pink Williams class, he is on it in terms of creating assignments. There's an assignment every day. We have the standard of 60 minutes of homework every day here, which I can pretty much guarantee isn't happening in most of the classes. But I can see right here that William's doing it. He's got an assignment every day. So he's assigning work. And I can see right here just really quickly that Chris is assigning 2 things. So then maybe I can go down here and say, okay, this person I see 1 writing assignment. I want to give some feedback and say, how are you assigning? Please, create your assignments, whatever. So it gives you a really good idea of what's going on in the classrooms too. And it helps with teacher accountability, because what I've found in terms of like sending out emails and saying, please follow up, action required, do this, this, and this, deadlines are missed because the emails get lost. But this is a really, I think, efficient way for everyone to keep track. Okay, so that sound good to everyone so far? Makes some sense, I think.
Yeah, I'm a bit curious as to what the students use to complete the quizzes and the homework assignments. Are they using their own computers, or?
Good question. Yeah. So a lot of them, so one thing that we do is all the students have Gmail accounts too, and it's really easy to set up, and we just kind of like, if a new student joins a class, then we can assign existing student leaders to collaborate and show them how to set it up and everything. But all of the students use their phones. We have a mobile laptop center here, so the teachers will often check out the computers for their class if they have sometimes like writing assignments or that sort of thing, and the students want to practice with the keyboards. Yeah. The students can use those laptops after class, and then some students do have their own laptop, but it's not required. A lot of them just do everything on the cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And a good thing to keep in mind in terms of rollouts that's useful is that we had 2 teachers using the Google form quizzes. And so for one of our professional development or faculty meetings, I created a little quiz for the teachers, and they all pulled out their cell phones and took the quiz. And there was a lot of great conversation that followed up, specifically from the 2 teachers who had been assigning Google Classroom forms quizzes in their classes, because it allowed them to see the student view, because what you see on a cell phone is different than what you see on a computer. So keeping in mind, for us at least, most of our students are using their cell phones for everything.
Mm. Which is one of the good things about Google. It is very mobile friendly.
Exactly.
Unlike sometimes when they're on MEE or something,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't look quite right.
And unlike me, it's an app, right? And I don't know about you guys, but we get lots of feedback saying my embassy English should be an app. It should be an app.
Absolutely.
Say, yes, I agree. But,
yeah.
So yes, exactly, and that is definitely one of the strengths of this platform, as I think we were talking about at the beginning of the call, Catherine, you and I, before everyone had joined, is that because it's such a big company and so tech-centered, they have the best developers. So everything is intuitive, and they're constantly coming up with updates that make it more useful. Yeah. So it's a great platform, and I've used, and so in the class that inspired me to kind of start this Google Classroom practice, I had the opportunity to try out a number of LMS platforms to see which one was the best. And I chose Google because it's just so user friendly. I idealistically want to go with some small education platform, but they just didn't have the designers that made it easy to use. So good. And so just really quickly too, in addition to that, there's a class folder that if you click on as a teacher, you have your class folder, and then you can choose what files to share with what students. So this is my, teacher folder for when I'm going to start feedback for teacher and providing them assignments. And I've created one for each teacher, and then I can share that folder with the teachers, and then they'll have access to all the resources. So they can add things to that folder, I can add things to that folder. And in addition to that, we can create one folder that's like for collaboration that everyone has, and we can start adding resources if we want. So it's really cool for that. So let me just try and return to my presentation, which is over here. I think that's pretty good in terms of the walkthrough. Does anyone else, you all feel good? Have any questions so far?
No, all good.
Okay, great. And so in addition to, I have in my notes, I'll just say it because I like to cross all my T's and dot all my I's here, is that we added to the resource rubrics for each class. We added academic integrity questions and a writing example, which was really useful, just kind of setting standards for teachers. Because we set the standard or the expectation that you are using rubrics when you're assigning writing, when you're assigning presentations, when you're assigning any student work, because that's not been a standard in the past. So let's go back to present mode because it's prettier. So moving forward, what are we using? Google Classroom. We're going to continue with we're going to add the all school activities to the activities class, which I'm really excited about. So these all school activities were coming up on our 4th one, and it's been a really great opportunity, as I mentioned, for for teachers to collaborate, to be creative, and so just sharing this with all of the students on one platform is really exciting. Continuing to develop the professional development classroom for the teacher and kind of working out how we assign things to teachers and track teacher work so that when it comes to the end of year review, we can very easily assess teachers by just going through that checklist, just like I showed you before with the student, to see what assignments they'd done, what work was submitted, and the quality of the work and that sort of thing. And so in addition to that, it's creating our goal here is to create a portfolio for every student and every teacher at Center. So Google Classroom is a really easy way to do that because it's connected to the Drive. Everything is saved here so that moving forward it'll be really easy to assess teachers. It will be really easy to showcase teachers and what they're doing and to encourage them to shine and develop. So we're submitted a proposal to English USA to share what we're doing there. So hopefully that'll be something that we can share with everyone soon. And then here in the US, San Francisco is looking to adopt also. So they want to start using Google Classrooms in all of their classes. So we're talking to the academic manager and center director there to see how we can line that up and assist. And then New York is rolling out the classroom with one elective class, the writing class, just to see how it goes with hopes to roll it out in the future. And then we have here, just in continuing to build upon materials and class development, we have 3 classes right now that have trials for student portfolios. So they're trying out developing those student portfolios using Google Classroom so that the students have real tangible evidence of what they learned while they were here. And that's for 2 of the core classes, and then also for our business elective class, which is really great. We've set a standard now where and because of the rolling enrollment, the Google Classroom really helps with this. We have a business class, and it's our goal that every student who enters the business class, when they leave, will have a resume, a cover letter, and a video interview or introduction in English to show as a tangible evidence that they learned and produced something here. And of course, they can do more than that, but this is just our baseline standard. So if that's something that we want out of a business class, which is really a great expectation, then how do we incorporate that into a business class with rolling enrollment? You can't do resumes every week when there's a new student, but if it's in the online platform, then it can be something that's individually assigned to each student, and you can kind of scaffold learning within the classroom or through the teacher so that at the end of their studies, no matter if they're here for 1 week or for 1 year, each student that goes into that business class will have at least a resume, cover letter, and video interview. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, and so I think that that's it. Everything here has been recorded, so I'm going to share the resources. I'll share my notes as well. So, if you're more of a visual learner and you're probably tired of my voice at this point because I've been talking a lot, I want to open it up to questions, comments, anything. Please unmute and talk.
Can I ask you a little bit, sorry, it's Rebecca, can I ask you a little bit about teacher training with Google Classroom and how that went? I have some teachers here who are still struggling with MEE.
Absolutely. So I would say that it was one of the most smooth transitions, and it was really cool because, so one thing I'd say is I would say it's more intuitive than My Embassy English simply because the likelihood of your teachers having experience with Google are pretty high. So if they're already using Google for Gmail or Docs or those sorts of things, then they already sort of have an idea of how it works. And for our rollout in terms of teachers, we did build up to it because there's a huge resistance to technology here. So we built up to it because we were making a transition into Google Drive for everything already. So they kind of got a little bit introduced to it there. And then in terms of the rollout, what really helped was having one key player, right? One teacher who tried it out before anybody else. And that teacher tried it out. So I would suggest in rolling out that you kind of find one teacher that you know is willing to go the extra mile, who wants to develop themselves, wants to be challenged. And it's really good to keep, good teachers growing. Identify them and maybe start the rollout with that one teacher if you anticipate a resistance with others, and then slowly start incorporating Gmail and Google to the other teachers by saying, hey, we're going to start out with uploading our lesson records to a Google Drive, which was something that our teachers were already familiar with. And then I would say that what in my fashion is allowing opportunities, like you could, just to familiarize them with the quizzes, for example. We've transferred all of our SSQs to Google Forms, and I send out questionnaires to teachers on Google Forms, just getting them used to it there. And then, so that's really useful. And then in terms of the actual rollout, I did a detailed, this is how it goes, and then I'm here for support. You've got backup with these other teachers, and then there's just like a well of knowledge online. You just have to, whenever a teacher's not sure how to do something, you just say Google it, right? Like you can Google, how do I add a video to my Google Classroom? And then you get instructions on how to do it. So creating some safety nets and then just kind of making them feel safe to create and explore, and taking your time and letting them know that it doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat, but we're going to practice it. Does that help? Okay, good.
That's really good. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're starting to move more, use Google Forms more and things like that. So I like the idea of moving the lesson plans to Google Drive as well. So good
Cool.
way to start.
Great. All right, I'm just going to allow for space. I'm not going to talk until someone does. So someone talk, please. Oh, we're calling my bluff. No one's talking.
I
like, oh, really, ladies? Well, we'll just see if we can be quiet. There's only 5 minutes left, and we're not going to talk.
Well, I think so I've asked the questions I want to, but just I want to say thank you so much for taking us through. It looks really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to having a play with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And so I want to thank everyone for participating and for, answering that pre-meeting questionnaire. And I'm just going to send another quick one post-meeting. I'll send all of these resources as well. And I want you to know that I'm available. I'm really excited about this. So anyone who wants to talk about it, collaborate, email, whatever, I'm here. And so then I guess I have a question is, so I asked the question on the pre-questionnaire, are you interested in using this? And everyone, 100% of respondents said, maybe. So is there any more of is there a shift?
Like more than
maybe. I'm
maybe.
curious about this thing, more than maybe. Cool. Okay, so good.
I would love to. I think from my perspective, I would absolutely love to use it myself. I feel like I just want to go and get started, but I'm not. I don't think that's that would be the general consensus amongst the teaching staff. Mm-hmm. So I think it would have to be kind of like your experience. I think like kind of slowly.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. And I'd encourage you, and I'm happy to also, add you as a collaborator, a teacher, or a student in the classes here, so you can kind of start to see how we're using it here. And
that would be great.
And maybe just start you could start one with your teachers as students so that they get practice on that student side as a way to ease them into it, and just give them simple assignments and fun, silly quizzes until you identify one that is really, I think identifying one maverick, I like to call them, or early adopter, as you like to call them, Daniel, is key, right? An early adopter right. To kind of help you convince the others.
Good advice.
Okay, good. So Rebecca's on board. She's going to go start her own Google Classroom. It's only about 1 o'clock in New Zealand, so she's ready.
Yeah.
Someone else? No, she's going to eat first and then go. Prinny, you thinking about it?
Yeah, well, we'll leave it to Rebecca.
Yeah,
okay, so you got to do it. So how do you feel about Rebecca's excitement? Are you with her? Are you going to help the energy build, or?
She's not surprised by my excitement, but I'm not surprised by her answer either. So we know each other well.
So Prinny, are you a little bit more hesitant, perhaps?
I missed part of it because I had problems logging in.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
So yeah, I might have to just sit with Rebecca and discuss it here.
So how do you feel about Google Classrooms then, having heard whatever you've heard?
Oh, yeah, no, it looks interesting. And we
Mm-hmm.
can use it here in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to try with one teacher, and we do have problems with even a simple thing like tutorials and locking PLPs. So
Oh, we don't have those problems at all here.
so, yeah. So we just
And
have to choose one person who might be willing to try it.
you know what? Actually, it's cool that you mentioned that, Prinny, like with the locking PLPs, because one thing that I've done, and this is something that you could easily adopt too, I'm not sure how you kind of follow up with teachers in terms of completing PLPs and locking them, but I run the report every week, and I copy and paste it into a Google Sheet. And so the teacher's responsibility is to check that Google Sheet every week to see if they failed to lock their PLPs, what's missing, and what actions need to be taken. And then I run the report again.
Yeah, I
You
email
do?
it to them. I email it to all of the teachers so they know. They
So-
can see who's done it and who hasn't, and then yeah.
Cool. So one thing to kind of like shift your teachers toward the Google Drive is to just turn it into, I'm going to show you what we do here really quickly. This is just so that they start getting more comfortable with Google so that they'll adopt it more easily. You can kind of give them breadcrumbs that lead them to the classroom. I created this folder, so I don't email them. I'm trying to get rid of emails, right? Emails are annoying. Beep, 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 email, reply. So me test takers list, it's a Google Sheet.
Oh,
So instead of emailing them, there's the tabs at the bottom with the date. They know every Monday to go here to see their test takers. And there's the emergency test link, so they know they don't, because it used to be that they'd email me every week. There'd be one teacher emailing saying, what's that link to the emergency test again? Okay, so it's right there. There it is. There's your password. There's the students. They know that they have to do their PLPs. And then on Tuesday, they just go into this sheet and they look at it's taking a minute to load, but they look at the link for the week before and they see, okay, why didn't this guy take his test? Why isn't this one locked? And then they have to fix it and then just add a note that says, oh, they missed their PLP, but I did it this week and it's locked now. So this kind of encourages more personal accountability on the teacher's part. It makes it a lot more, it makes it a lot easier administratively to keep up on who's doing what and who isn't, because you can just follow through the sheets and all the expectations are right here. So there's really no, I forgot what I was supposed to do, because it says right here, you got to enter the grades, you got to turn it to locked, and you got to make sure they take their test.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the term, I run a report to see if there's any that haven't been taken care of by the end of that term. And then that's a real talk like, look, you had these opportunities to do it here. This was the expectation. And so it's really useful. And it'll be easier on you, I'd imagine, than sending out those emails.
Yeah. We could start, one thing at a time and then slowly build it up, I guess.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll definitely look at it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let me see. Who else can I pick on in here? Uh-oh, I think everyone else is gone. All right. They knew. All right. Well, we've got New Zealand and we've got Catherine, so I like it.
They had an important meeting at 11, so they had to rush off.
Okay.
It wasn't
Right.
it wasn't
feel
you.
so abandoned. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I'm going to follow up with that questionnaire anyway, so we'll see. I really wanted to thank you all for, taking the time, because I know that everyone's busy and there's a lot going on, and I'm really excited about this. So please reach out to me. Don't hesitate. I'm happy to kind of talk and share ideas about our rollout and that sort of thing. So thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you.